Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another monthly reading wrap up. I cannot believe we have already finished 3 months in 2024. Like, we are 1/4 of the way through the year, and that is just insane to say. Like, I say this every month, but making videos like this and doing these monthly videos just makes each month feel so much faster, because by the end of the month I'm like, where did the time go? Like, it feels like I did not read anything. It feels like I did not even live through March, and this month was no exception. It felt the exact same as every other month. So I'm going to include something different in this video that I've never done before, completely inspired by Destiny, because I saw her do it in February and I really wanted to start including it in my monthly wrap-up videos. So I'm going to start the video with some statistics about the books that I read in March, and I'm going to start including this in every single monthly wrap-up video because I feel like it just gives more depth to my wrap-up videos. So in the month of March I read a total of 12 books, and I also had 2 DNFs, so 14 books altogether. Out of those 12 books I read 5,142 pages, which just sounds absolutely insane. Like, that is a lot more pages than I thought. I did read quite a few like thick books this month as well, so a very successful reading month. My average rating was 3.7. I read 5 out of the 6 books that I set myself on my TBR at the beginning of the month, which is really good for me. Normally I don't really get to my TBR books. And the genre breakdown was 3 mystery/thrillers, 4 romances, 4 fantasies, and 1 non-fiction. So now that I've gone through all of the statistics, let's just get straight into the video. So I don't do this in any particular order. I'm literally just going to grab any book that is first in the stack because I just don't really see a point of saying these books in order. So the first book that I read in March was, of course, Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. This actually came out in February, but I was going through a lot in February and it just was not the right time for me to read this book, so I did push it back to March. Let me tell you, I'm so glad that I took my time reading this book because I kind of started it at the end of February and then read it and finished it into March. So I took about a week to read this because I was really just taking my time and trying to savor everything. This book gave me everything I wanted and more. Of course, it was a 6-star read. Every single book in this series has been a 6-star read for me. I'm actually wearing some Magnolia Park's inspired merch right now from Books with Jess. I actually have a discount code that you guys can use as well. This is not sponsored, but I just love her stuff. Like, I buy all the stuff myself and then I just happen to have a discount code for you guys as well. But yeah, anyway, I fully annotated this book like I have with every single book in this series. It just exceeded my expectations so much because I have never been a BJ girl. Like, I did not like him throughout any of the other books. I wanted Magnolia to be with her other love interests and I just never rooted for him. But this book like changed everything that I thought I knew before. Like, this book changed my mind on everything, and I can now safely say that I am a BJ girl, and I'm so happy with how this book all came together, the conclusion to Magnolia and BJ's story. That's all I'm going to tell you because I don't want to spoil anything, because obviously it is kind of like the end of a series and it's hard to talk about books in a series. The next book I read was When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I actually only finished this like yesterday or the day before, so it's very fresh in my mind at the moment. This is following a famous pop star called Amelia, and she is trying to escape her town because she just needs to get away from everything. She's kind of like sick of being in the limelight and sick of the fame. So because Rome in Italy is way too far for her to go, she decides to go to a small town in Kentucky called Rome. As she's going on this little road trip, she happens to break down in front of this man's house called Noah, and the story goes on from there. Her car is completely broken down. It will not move, and in fact it takes 2 weeks to get the car fixed. So she ends up having to stay with this random man called Noah, and let me tell you, Noah is now one of my favorite book boyfriends. Like, I loved him so much. He was like the sweetest soul. When I posted this on TikTok, someone kind of said that it reminded them of like Lorelai and Luke from Gilmore Girls, but it kind of more reminded me of like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce if Travis Kelce was like a random man from a small town, because like just the vibes and the fact she was a famous pop star just really reminded me of that, and I loved that about it. So I actually ended up giving this 4.5 stars. I was not expecting to give this such a high rating because it is just like a short cutesy little romance. Like, there was not much depth to it or anything like that, but I just had such a fun time reading this. It was such a wholesome story and I just loved all of the characters in it. I also cannot wait to read the second book, which is Practice Makes Perfect, because Noah, our main male character, he has 3 sisters, and the next book is following one of the sisters, and it's probably my favorite sister, so I'm very excited to get into that and see her little romance story as well. Then I read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This was my first ever experience reading an Olivia Blake book, and I've been putting off reading one of her books for so long, but I'm so glad that I finally pushed myself to do it because her writing is just so amazing and beautiful. I actually read this as part of a reading vlog, so if you want to go and watch that reading vlog, it's up on my channel right now. It's me trying to get through the books on my March TBR. I went into this with kind of low expectations expectations because I'd heard a lot about it being really, really difficult to understand. A lot of people say that you really have to focus and like read every single word, and it's just one of those books that takes a lot of brain power. But honestly, for me, it did not feel like that at all. Like from the beginning of the book, I kind of understood everything that was going on. Like, yes, some aspects were difficult to understand, and I kind of look back and I'm a little bit confused. But this book, because it's the first book as part of a series, I will be continuing the rest of the series. I'm very excited to. But yeah, because it's the first book, this was more like a character study. Because we are following 6 main characters and 6 different point of views, it's kind of just getting to know the characters, getting to know their relationships with each other. And there's kind of like a little bit of found family in there. I feel like the found family aspect will definitely get more throughout the rest of the series, because it wasn't as much as I thought, because a lot of people say that it's literally just found family the whole book, but it kind of took them a while to get to know each other and stuff like that. But yeah, I ended up giving this 3.75 stars. It wasn't like phenomenal, it wasn't amazing, but I can definitely see that it's a good start to the series, and I feel like the rest of the series is going to be even better than this one. I also went into it with the expectation that I was going to like heavily annotate it, but I did not annotate it that much. The only thing I really annotated was just like little important things about each character, because I had a tab for each different character. So I highly recommend doing that so you don't lose track of who each character actually is. Then I read My Body by Emily Ratajkowski. So if you don't know who Emily Ratajkowski is, I'll put a photo on the screen as like a little reminder. She's kind of like a model, actor, like a bit of everything like that. And I don't give ratings to memoirs just because it's someone's real story, so I feel like it's just mean to put a rating on that. I know a lot of people don't give ratings to memoirs, but honestly, without trying to sound really mean, I did not really enjoy this that much. It's only like a 200-page book, but I just feel like she was so, like, what's the word? She just like felt very just complaining about a lot of things, but she's put herself in these positions and she continues to keep putting herself in positions for a certain outcome. And I just didn't really enjoy her too much. I don't really know much about her in general. Like, I've never watched her movies or, you know, anything like that. I don't actually know her very well, but I just thought that it would be a very like eye-opening book. It was in a sense to like the modeling industry and the acting industry and stuff like that, but I just didn't really enjoy it overall. I feel like she was very disconnected from reality, if that makes sense, but I don't want to sound really mean because it is a memoir. Then I read Powerless by Elsie Silver, which is the 3rd book in the Chestnut Springs series. Now, I must say this has been my least favorite in the series so far, but I still did really enjoy it. I'm looking back now and I honestly don't really remember much about this book, even though it's been 2 weeks since I read it. Like, I honestly have no recollection of it whatsoever. It is following Jasper and Sloane, and it is a childhood best friends to lovers, which is one of my favorite romance tropes. I love just seeing a connection that they have from when they're younger, because I feel like they just have such a more like deeper, meaningful connection. But yeah, that's all I really remember about this. I gave it 3.5 stars because, as I said, it wasn't my favorite, and I feel like it was way too spicy for my liking. Like, I feel like there was not much plot, but a lot of spice. So if you like a spicy book, then definitely go into this one or go into the Chestnut Springs series. They're all quite spicy. But yeah, for this one, I just didn't connect with the characters as much. I just didn't really love them as much. But of course, I'm still going to continue the series. I've only got 2 books to go. Also, I apologize if you can hear rain and thunder. I did not think it was going to rain this early in the day, because it did say it was going to rain at like 7 p.m. and it's only 12 right now. But yeah, there's a massive storm coming today and a lot of rain, so it might get really, really loud, but I'm hoping that it holds off until the end of this video. The next book I read was Hidden Games by Brandy Silver. Now, I actually got sent this by the author and read it as like a promotion, but I genuinely loved this book so much, and I will always be honest about the books that I read anyway, but I just fell in love with this book. Like, from the beginning, I was so hooked on the story. It's following our main character Evie, whose parents pass away in a really, really tragic accident, and after they pass away, she kind of gets this like scholarship deal from a senator that lives in her state, and she gets to go to this like really famous university called Hallowed Saints University. And this is going to get a little bit confusing, but when she goes there, she meets the senator's daughter, who happens to be this like really cruel, mean girl, and so she causes the issues the whole book. And then the senator also has another senator friend who has a son called Carter, and he also goes to this school. So this book has a lot of different tropes in it. I absolutely loved it. It had enemies to lovers, and it was like a good enemies to lovers. It was a slow burn. It was like a forbidden romance. Like, there was so many tropes I loved. Also a sports romance. You can hear the thunder, and I am someone that is terrified of storms, so I need to get this filming done as soon as possible. Anyway, I really loved this. It was 4.5 stars. I just did not expect to love it as much as I did. It was also like a bit of a love triangle, and I was rooting for one person at the beginning, but then I ended up rooting for the other person by the end of the book. The only thing I don't like about this is like the cover, because I don't like covers with people like this, but the book was really good on the inside, so that's all that matters. Then I actually continued my journey into the ACOTAR series. Now, if you know me, you know that I have never read the ACOTAR series, and I've been putting it off for a really long time. I listened to the first 2 books last year as audiobooks, and I tried to read the third last year, like going into the physical copy, but I soft DNF'd it like 60 pages in because I just couldn't get into it. But I did decide to pick them back up as audiobooks, and so I finished reading A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Frost and Starlight as audiobooks this month. And I can't really talk about them too much because, again, they are part of a series, so I don't want to spoil anything. But I do have a few thoughts. I definitely enjoy the series a lot more now. It still has not lived up to the hype for me as much as I expected it to, just because this is such an overhyped series. Like, I feel like everyone just raves about it, says it's like phenomenal and all of this stuff, but it was good, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, if that makes sense. So I ended up rating A Court of Wings and Ruin 4 stars. I did quite enjoy it. I actually wanted to keep listening to the audiobook. I did not want to put it down, and I got through the audiobook really quickly as well. And then A Court of Frost and Starlight, I actually listened to the like dramatized audiobook for this one, and I really regret that, only because I listened to audiobooks on quite a fast speed. So when there was like sound effects and music, it was really sped up, and it just sounded really weird. Sometimes the music was like louder than the speaking. Like, it was just really weird. I did really like the found family feeling that I got in this book. I loved just how we got such a cute little story. Like, there was no problems in this book. It was more just everyone sort of like getting together and getting to know each other more and stuff like that. So I really liked the found family aspect of this, but I did only give it 3 stars because there's not much to really rate in this book. But yeah, I am currently listening to A Court of Silver Flames as an audiobook, so I'll probably finish that in April, and then I can start the Throne of Glass series, which I'm very excited about. Then I completed and finished the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy by Holly Jackson. Now, I must say, I did really like this, but it was also my least favorite out of the series because I just expected something so like amazing and like page turning, and I don't know, it just did not give me that like it did with the first 2 books. I heard a lot of people say that they either really love this one and it's their favorite out of the series, or it's their least favorite, which obviously it was my least favorite as well. I am so sorry for the background noise. It's getting really loud, but it's the only time that I had to film today, and of course it had to start right now. But yeah, I ended up giving this 4 stars. I still did really enjoy it, but the other 2 were 5 stars, so that's like a little bit of a difference between them. I still did really like it. I just didn't really expect the route that this story went down, and it kind of got a little bit dark for like a YA mystery, so that was really surprising to me. But yeah, overall I still did really enjoy it, and I think that it's an amazing trilogy if you guys want to go into it. And there's also a TV show coming out soon, which I'm so excited about because I just know it's going to be amazing. Then I went into Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. Now, I read this as part of a reading vlog as well, and to be honest, I did not enjoy this at all. I know that it's a cozy fantasy, and I know that there's not supposed to be much plot or anything like that, but honestly I did not know what was going on even throughout the fact there was like no plot in this book. I feel like I just felt so lost because a lot of the words and language was very hard to understand. I believe it was like Norwegian language, so it was very difficult to pronounce and stuff like that, so I found myself skimming a lot of it because I just didn't want to try to stop and try to pronounce things, if that makes any sense. I think it was a cute book. I really liked the romance aspect of it. There were some parts of the book that I did really enjoy. I feel like there was quite a strong found family trope in this book as well, but in terms of what actually happened in this book, I have no recollection of what happened. I honestly could not tell you a single thing that happened in this book. When I finished it, I gave it 3 stars, but as I was looking back, I would give it a 2.5 star. I feel like it's definitely a good book, but it's just not a good book for me. I feel like a lot of people would really like this though. The next book I read was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Now, I actually listened to this as an audiobook on Spotify, which I highly recommend doing because this was absolutely phenomenal. The Spotify audiobook had like audio effects, and because this is like a podcast within the story, felt like I was listening to a real podcast, which just made the story feel really realistic, which I really liked. So this is following 2 main characters who meet on their birthday. So one of them is this lady. She's kind of like in a rut in life. She feels like she's really stuck, doesn't know what to do with a career, and she's kind of like really strange and weird. And then the other lady is this famous podcaster, and she decides to do a podcast about the weird lady because they're kind of like beginning some sort of friendship. And that's all I'm gonna tell you about this because I feel like it's better to go into this blind. That's what I did, and I was so blown away by this book. I was so pleasantly surprised. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I would honestly almost give it a 6-star rating. It's definitely one of the best thrillers that I've ever read or listened to. I literally just had to buy the physical copy after I finished the audiobook because I was like, I need to have like a trophy of this on my shelf so I don't forget about reading this, because this is going to be a book that I now recommend like 24/7 because it is so amazing. Like, I cannot recommend this book enough. The last book I read was actually on my Kindle, and that was No Exit by Taylor Adams. I read this more to the beginning of the month and I kind of don't really remember too much about it, but I know it's following this lady, and I believe that it's like in the middle of a snowstorm and she gets stuck at this rest stop, and there's like a few people at the rest stop, and she notices in one of the cars that there's like a little girl trapped in there. So she's kind of been like abducted, and then she's stuck in this place with all of these people, and she doesn't know who has this child in their car and who has this child held captive. And so you're trying to follow her as she investigates like the people at the rest stop without trying to incriminate herself and get herself on their radar as well. She doesn't want them to know that she knows there's a girl in the car. I really liked this. It kind of reminded me of like Frida McFadden's writing. It was very twisty. I did not expect anything at the end. It wasn't like one of the best thrillers that I've ever read or anything like that, but I really enjoyed my time reading it. I was really engaged. I did find myself wanting to keep picking up the book as well, which sometimes I do struggle like that a little bit. Like, I pick up a book and I'm really enjoying it, but then I lose interest in it really quickly. But this one I did really feel engaged the whole time, and it kind of kept me on the edge of my seat. And now we go on to the 2 books that I DNF'd this month. One of them was from Taylor Adams, who wrote No Exit, and then one of them was from Lisa Jewell. So the Taylor Adams one was The Last Word. I'm sure you guys have heard about this one before. It's following an author who stalks someone that gives her a really bad review. But the girl that gave the bad review, she was just like one of those people that did not know what to do in this situation. Like, she was just one of those characters where you were like, what are you doing? It was like watching a horror movie where they go towards the thing that they should be running away from, and that's what that character was doing. And so when I got like 30% into the book, I was like, I cannot stand reading this character. It is so frustrating reading about someone that is just so stupid. So I just had to DNF the book. And then the other one that I DNF'd was The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. Someone at my work actually told me to read this, so I was really hoping to like this, and so I kind of went into it with high expectations, and I was really hoping to love it because this lady at work also loves like Frida McFadden and stuff like that. Honestly, if I gave this book a longer chance, I feel like it could have been a really good read, but I honestly did not know what was going on. I made it about 25% through. That's kind of like the mark that I get to in books before I DNF, because I like to give them like a good chance. Following like 3 different point of views, but I didn't really understand any of the people. Like, I didn't know who they were. There was kind of no explanation as to how these people were connected, who they were. Like, I just didn't really know what was going on, and so I didn't enjoy the book. I feel like that one's more of a soft DNF. I might definitely go back into that one in the future. But yeah, that sums up the end of this video. So that was the 12 books that I read in March and the 2 books that I DNF'd. I feel like it was a very successful reading month. I'm definitely very proud of myself with how many books I read this month, because I was definitely very busy with work, but I feel like I was just off my phone a lot more, and I was prioritizing all of my spare time to read instead of just sitting there like endlessly scrolling, which is really good. I'm quite proud of myself. So yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you stay and subscribe so you don't miss other uploads from me. If you got to the end, leave a comment below letting me know your favorite book that you read in March, because I'd love to know and I'd love to get some more recommendations. But yeah, with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one.